So welcome to 15 Minute Marketing, proudly sponsored now by the Holiday Inn Express in Bodmin at Victoria Junction, where they are built for business. So they've got private meeting rooms, excellent Wi-Fi and coffee on tap, and there is no better place to meet for business right now in the centre of Cornwall. So if you want to find out more, search Holiday Inn Express Cornwall for more information. Malcolm Bell, very nice to meet you. First time as well after many, many years. But welcome to 15 Minute Marketing.
Oh, glad to be here. It's funny to see put a face and a body to a name that's been on my email list for a long time. It's
been a while, isn't it? Yeah, we've been emailing for many years, but yeah, it's the first time we've met. So yeah, really nice to meet you, and thanks for coming on the show. So today's a really wide conversation, obviously, because it's hard to talk about what you do in 15 minutes, I think, but we're going to attempt to do it. And one of the main questions that I have, because I have a lot of businesses that come on the show, I ask them, how do you market your one business? How do you market in your industry? For you, you've got to market an entire county. So I think I'm going to kick it off and start the 15 minutes on that question. And it's probably a too broad a question, and we're going to have to pick that apart. But where do you start when you come to marketing Cornwall?
I think the main thing these days, particularly, it's probably always been the case, but I think we probably missed it, but particularly now, is you've got to think of the whole experience. Yeah. An individual business might think of their component part. So we've got to think about different markets and what they're looking for. So, and we do research. So, for instance, a very easy one on the family market is that if you ask the great British public about different destinations, about places where they make lifelong memories, sure, Cornwall comes number one, 44%. So what you play into that sentence then of this is where you come to make those lifelong memories.
So it's like that storytelling. And that comes up a lot in marketing, is telling a good story.
It is, and one that will resonate to what people are actually really wanting at the whole package comes together. Sure. So some of that is to recharge your batteries. Mm-hmm. Some of it is to reconnect with your loved ones. Yes. Some of it is to get your body back in shape in terms of peace and well-being in spas. So you've got to almost get to, even though the customer may not be thinking that way, what they actually would ideally like to say at the end of their stay, what they got out of it.
Whether it was a positive experience and whether they got what they wanted from it, I suppose. Yeah, and I suppose with other businesses as well, a lot of them, if they've got a product or a service, they have a kind of one demographic or maybe two at the most, but for you, obviously, there's many, many different demographics of people that come to Cornwall. So I'd imagine that has its challenges as well, and you have to kind of cater or tailor your messaging to different demographics.
Yes, and that's where PR comes in a lot, because you can target, and to a degree, social media. Yes. Because in certain areas it works really well, in other areas it doesn't, on which channel you use. But you're quite right, is that, compared with, say, the Lake District or whatever, our profile is pretty strong across all sectors. We lose people between, we're lower down between the 20 to 34, which I think is when they normally go off travelling the world. Yeah, they'll be in Thailand or Bali, I'd imagine, at that age, yeah. So that's the other, and after that, we really cover every market, and we still do have the 20 to 34s, it's just we're below profile, and that's the same all over the country. I suppose that might change with things like Boardmasters, I suppose, but that's kind of the festival gig industry then, isn't it? Well, I think it's one of our markets for the future for these people who are probably working a lot at home. And we'd be talking about people in Devon, Somerset, Dorset, Bristol, especially out of season, and say, get a bit bored, and there's good value tourism to come. And you can come down and you can do the odd meeting. It's the new workation market. Workation, that's a good word, that. Yeah. And I think that's one way you can go, God, I've been in this house. I'm in this house 5 days a week, only going to the office once. In a way, you've lost your sanctuary. This working at home is great, but you've lost your sanctuary. That's the market we can go after. And I think Cornwall's an attractive place. I mean, as we know, speaking to a lot of people, and the evidence suggests a lot of people are now moving to Cornwall to work because they can work remotely. And we spoke to Florence Bate recently. She came on and she set up her own PR company recently, and one of the things she said is that change in lifestyle. She wanted to be able to go and walk the dog in the morning on the beach or in the fields or whatever, and then do work in the afternoon. Do you think that's what's attracting more people down, not even on holiday, but they might have come on holiday and then down to live? Yeah, unfortunately, it used to be, and probably nobody on this podcast remember an advert when a guy said, I like the company so much I bought it, the product so much I bought it, but we do suffer a bit from that, which is good. Yes. I think the thing we got to get across is actually there's some stuff done by Headley years ago, and standing on a cliff or a beach looking out. If you actually, the next time you're on the coast path, you watch, everybody's sitting there looking out to sea and there's nothing to see. Ironically, the more interesting view is behind you.
It's true.
But it actually does something to relax you and actually releases your creativity.
Yeah.
So for a lot of people that are stressed, or need to actually, say, do some business planning, or actually are in a creative world where they have to use their creative brain, it's not processing, to be in Cornwall is actually very good. I mean, if I have a stressful day and I walk the dog on the beach, even in the middle of winter on Perranporth Beach with the moon out especially, or even in the rain, you actually do start to solve problems. Your brain seems to go and back down processing. So you've got to get that across that, if you really use your brain, and your brain is what your asset is, then this is the best place to be working from.
I completely agree with that. Often myself and my business partner, if we've got to make strategic decisions, we'll go out to the coast and have a pint, look out to sea and talk it out. Yeah. It's a good place to do it. And I think that could be another reason why Cornwall's got a really rich and kind of varied creative industry down here as well.
And I think we've also in marketing, a little marketing story I'll tell you is that I once spent about 40 minutes trying to set up an iPhone on the beach at Godrevy or Gwydion to get the Godrevy Lighthouse in the background on a windy February day, just to do a Facebook Live, and I was framing everything up for the visual. I mean, it got 250,000 plus reach, and it was really took off because it was Sunday afternoon. Nobody was bothered about the lighthouse. They were all raving about the sound of the sea. Now, I was deaf to that.
Yeah,
I was deaf to that. But if you're in Reading and you hear the power of the sea and the waves and the wind, so I think sometimes we've got to be very careful that we spend time with guests to really understand what it is they get from it, because it might not be what you think it is.
That's very interesting. I suppose living in Cornwall, I mean, I'm Cornish, I've always lived here. You take it for granted. What's amazing about the place, and as you say, doing proper market research, on visitors to the county, what attracted them to it, what do they like when they were here, I suppose is really important when then you're feeding that back into marketing in the future and how you attract more visitors to Cornwall, I suppose.
Yeah, and what words you use, what imagery you use. I mean, a fascinating thing for us is when we've had Italians over, I remember getting the Italians and taking them round, and they said, "We love your natural beaches." And I thought, well, what's an unnatural beach?
That's true.
But then you think in Italy, they would hammer them flat and you'd have boards and bars on them. We can't do that because the Atlantic would take it away.
Of course.
And the other one is actually, we forget, the Southwest Coast Path and access to the coast. Most coast is privately owned around the world. You can't walk along the coast in California, large parts of France you can't. I mean, they're trying to do it. So just that access to the coast, which we've just taken for granted all my life, you can go and walk on the cliffs.
There's nowhere else I can think of that's like that, really. I mean, I've been to Spain a few times and they've got these big, long promenades, which the EU have bought and paid for and all this sort of stuff. And there isn't really those kind of coastal paths you can use, is there, anywhere else, which is a really big asset, I suppose, for Cornwall.
It is, and not being funny is that one of the things we forget is that that's an enduring part. So one of the things that people like is when they come back, that beach will look the same, that cliff will look the same, in a world that changes, that's actually, it's almost like sort of brown sauce and comfort food.
It's that familiarity then, I suppose, and that they come back every year, they know that what they're going to get.
Yeah.
Which is great. And I suppose as well, a big part of marketing is having imagery and video. And as you say, you were talking about setting up a kind of Facebook Live, and it was the sound. But I'd imagine that one of the easiest jobs for you is getting really good content to use with your marketing material, isn't it?
It is, and it's using the right content. I mean, we like to, when we are going to move to a more out of season, which ironically we had a load of photographs taken 3 weeks ago, and of course it was blue every day.
Lovely.
We actually wanted some winter ones, so we're going to have to re-go out.
At least it's
should have gone out in May.
Yeah, exactly.
Chose April, thinking April showers, but anyway, so we will get more of that. But it is capturing those little things. So for the family market, it's that joy in the child's eyes.
Sure.
For another market, it can be, a hand in a hand. So you've got to try to get across the emotional part of a holiday. Because at the end of the day, most people have been to Cornwall. Yeah. They know about Cornwall. Cornwall is very special.
It's a brand in itself, isn't it? And people,
But it's a venue, for most of our visitors, it's a venue to do something else. They love it, but it's reconnect with your loved ones.
Yeah.
Have that time with your children. Pursue a passion and interest with your friends.
Yeah.
It's a backdrop. It's a venue. The venue is incredibly important, but the experience is equally important. The two go together. You've got a winning marketing strategy.
Of course you have.
One on their own is a bit sterile.
Yes. And I'd imagine it's a tough job for you as well, because I think there's certain areas of Cornwall as well, when you break it down, that are really well known and a lot of tourists will go and visit. But there's other areas which are really untouched, and tourists don't know about. So obviously in my mind, I think Cornwall, I think Kynance or Porthcurno and the Minnock, and I'd imagine there's a huge amount of traffic. Well, I avoid the area myself as a local in the summer because of the traffic and obviously the access to these amazing places. But is it a challenge for you kind of persuading people to go to more unknown areas?
Yeah, it's why our biggest shout out is, 400 beaches and coves or 300 plus beaches all the time, just saying that message.
Yeah.
We're more than 2 beaches. And also you've got the challenge really that the A30's been great, but for a lot of visitors it sort of starts near Bodmin.
Yeah.
And therefore you've got North Cornwall, Bude, all around that area, but equally the amazing Southeast Cornwall.
And Lou and Porthcurno and areas.
Yeah, and
Polperro. I've mixed them up, didn't I?
Yeah, but you've got the Rame and you've got Tregantle. You've also got the Tamar Valley though. So it is getting to those, and as a good Redruth boy, one day I will get Camborne as the top of the tourist list, but that would be a marketing challenge in a bit.
Definitely, yeah, you've got your work cut out there, but no, but it is important though, isn't it? Because there's such a rich history in that area of central Cornwall. I'm a Truro boy through and through, and obviously Truro's got the cathedral, it's got the lovely river and all that sort of stuff, but I know because I work quite closely with Truro Chamber as well. I'm on the board there as well, and it's always a challenge to kind of get visitors into Truro and the reasons behind it. And often people think shops and things like that, but we're kind of going down the route of thinking a bit more outside the box on that. So for you, obviously with Visit Cornwall, I know that's an element of it as well. It's not just the coast; it's the towns.
It's why we're really excited about a £250 million business opportunity, which is the winter trade, which is now open with rich pensioners, people stressed needing a break, and a lot of business tourism, which is where hotels and Holiday Inn.
Yes, the Holiday Inn
comes in very well.
Bodmin, definitely.
Places for people to meet. That is there, but in a way, if you think of the winter, you almost turn Cornwall. You can turn Cornwall inside out.
Yes.
Whereas in the summer, everyone wants to be at the coast, and if the weather's bad, they come inland. In the winter, to be able to go to all the market towns, to do all of that, and have a bit of coast, could really be balancing the visitor economy and the visitor benefits. And if you have people down who are interested in heritage, history and mining, then, sorry guys from Camborne comes into its own.
Of course.
Redruth comes into its own. Hale comes into their own in terms of and United Downs and St Day.
Yes.
And Craharrick. All those places then come into their own, which are never going to be that popular in the summer because you come here and if the weather's right, you're going to do that. And if it's raining, you go to Truro. So we're quite excited that over the next 10 years, we could cap the amount of accommodation stock and really utilise those empty bedrooms in the winter and the deep shoulders for this market. It's going to be around for a good 10, 15 years because pensioners are now some of the richest disposable income.
They do. A lot of them have very disposable incomes. And I know, speaking, and we work at Big Box Advertising with a lot of attractions that obviously advertise on our billboards in different places around the southwest. And funnily enough, a lot of them don't target the kind of May to August or September kind of times. They'll target those shoulder months, and as I've heard the term, a lot of marketing managers use the walkers in the kind of March and Aprils and the Octobers and Novembers, and that's a big market because, as you say, they do have expendable income. They go out for lunches, they'll buy gifts in gift shops, and
there's a whole market there, and it's just going to grow even bigger. One of the things we did back in 2012 is we did some research on people with dogs. Yeah. And we found that because a dog is a bit like it's not the right way of describing this. A dog is a bit like a vegetarian. If you don't have a vegetarian option, you lose all 4 customers. Of
course you do.
So you might have one vegetarian, but that's why you've got to, and the same with vegan. So you've got to accommodate or else you lose other customers. Yeah. So even if maybe it's not So, when we found that 1 in 3 parties in the winter comes with a dog, I think that's probably grown to 1 in 2. Now we've got dog management issues. I know all of that we can handle. But equally, a number of places now that are dog friendly, or dog, and it's got to be a 2-way street. You can have dogs just misbehaving and all the rest of it. But for that market, and look at that staycation market, those people working at home have got the dog over the pandemic dog, the lockdown dog. Yeah. They're going to want to come down in the winter now. I don't want any more dogs in the summer. No, thank you very much.
No, that is a contentious issue at times. So as Cornish, we know the conversations I think that have happened about that.
But thinking of that, and you've got the dog there sitting there, and you can go and run on a beach. So one of the things which marketing people disagree with me on this one is sort of love your dog but hate the mud.
Yes.
Come in the winter to Cornwall. It's always sandy.
Exactly.
That gives us a competitive edge over Dartmoor, over the New Forest, over the Cotswolds. Yeah. Because if you go out there, especially in normal British winter, you're going to come back. Now, all you need is a dog shower. So talking about dog showers, a few towels, even a dog hairdryer.
Just a couple of details
just
like
little
that.
details like that.
It might make someone book against not, I suppose.
Yeah, so it's going that little bit further. It's not just being dog tolerant, but actually it makes sense. If you have a dog shower, which is only an outside shower, you can even be cold if you want, but if you want to be luxurious, give them a warm shower. A few old towels, £100 dog hairdryer.
It makes all the difference, yeah.
And that keeps your place clean as well.
Wow.
But it also means you've thought of what the dog needs.
Exactly. So we've only got a minute left, would you believe? So I'm going to ask you the question. What advice would you give to tourism businesses to market themselves at the moment?
First thing is think of which bit of the experience you're involved in and sell everything else around it, and cuddle and love the visitor this year, because there'll be some that need extra love because it's going to be busier for them because of everybody else coming down, and convert those first-time ones to love Cornwall, to come back so they don't leap on that plane too often abroad.
So it's always about that repeat business and think about the future long term.
And personal service and thinking about what the customer wants before they want it. Love them and cuddle them this year, because I know it's going to be busy, it's going to be hard. But if we're going to benefit from this for the next few years, we've got to look after them really well. Regulars as well as new ones, but particularly regular ones.
That's really good advice. Malcolm Bell, thank you so much for coming on 15-Minute Marketing to talk about yourself and Visit Cornwall as well. And I look forward to catching up with you in the future when we've had the summer that we're about to have. So thanks for coming on the show. We'll speak again soon.